We are back. We waited how many months for this, but it's over now. The wait has ended. Last week Friday, the action started here on City 97.3. The action was all over the place, Facebook, Twitter, via social media. But the Premier League Preview Show is back every Wednesday at 1 p.m. My name is Nathan Khan. It's a pleasure to start this journey. We'll be doing this 37 more times before we go for another break. That's a long period. So every Wednesday, 1 p.m., join us. The show is proudly brought to you by Betway, Slide Pay, and Premium Bank. You're better off with us. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we light the fuse, we start talking.
They'll go with a 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
Their away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home sides kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
Their star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Inside the last minute of the opening 45 here. And,
Scores. 1. Who? Red. Blue.
What? Scores! What a way to finish the first half!
Scores. Halftime. Scores!
Welcome back from that break. Remember, the show is live on Facebook's The Premier League Preview Show. My name is Nathan Carl, brought to you by Slide Pay, Betway, and Premium Bank. My partner in crime is here. Benjamin is here. It's been a while since we sat in this chair talking Premier League football.
Are over.
Back to business, isn't it?
Yep. It's interesting. I mean, the Premier League always offers you so much to look forward to, especially in the off-season. The transfers, the coaches,
the backstories, the crazy things that are happening. Anyway, but this season we've got a bit of an addition. So every week we'll have somebody joining us. So it won't be you alone. We'll have somebody joining us. That should be exciting. Like to hear.
Spice up the mix a little.
All right, but let's start off from last weekend. It was a fantastic start. Arsenal and Leicester gave us a blistering start. It went on and on. Some results were surprising, others were not, but the performances were absolutely great. Just your quick thoughts from some of the games. So let's start from Arsenal beating Leicester by 4-3. Both teams showed us great attacking football. It was good. Leicester may have lost, but they'll be happy with their display. But Arsenal telling everybody that this season they want to scrap for everything.
Well, I mean, it opened our eyes in a lot of ways. For starters, Arsenal got a win on opening day for the first time in 7 years. Again, we saw a new import come in and score the first goal of the Premier League campaign. I'm talking about Alexander Lacazette. So, I mean, that was refreshing for Premier League fans. Certainly something eye-opening for Arsenal fans with regards to the quality of signings that their manager makes. I've always said this, that Arsenal fans are persistently unfair to Arsene Wenger.
Okay.
Why? he might not always back to the core of buying players. And I don't really agree with go and buy players whenever there's a dip in form or whenever there's a crisis. And he's taught us that more than any other manager in the Premier League. Again, he goes out and buys a player out of necessity. And from the player's first game, we can tell that his work rate, his positional sense, and his ability to finish will be something that will be critical for Arsenal throughout the course of the season. And then you also want to look at Leicester City post Claudio Ranieri, Shakespeare now given the job on a permanent basis. What are we to expect from him? I believe that he's taking a page out of Ranieri's playbook in the championship season, where the play was aggressive, it was direct, and it was long ball oriented. What though I don't get with Leicester City is the plethora of strikers they have in their locker. So
Vardy is still there.
Jamie Vardy.
Vardy
there as well. I mean, and he came on and played peripheral minutes. So I'm just wondering exactly what's going on, because he was bought for big money.
25 million.
Musa is still in the mix. They don't even forget about him. So Leicester City still sort of confusing me. Islam Slimani, I nearly forgot about
He's
him.
still around.
So they have about six starting caliber forwards in their team now, who are all capable of getting into the mix. So it will be interesting to see how they prune the ship, how they couch their style of play, and where they aim to be by, hope say, mid-season.
Well, it was a fascinating start. Craig Shakespeare said he was happy with how his team played. Unfortunately, they lost to fantastic Olivier Giroud ahead late in injury time, or very close to injury time. Let's talk about the game at Vicarage Road, that crazy encounter between Watford and Liverpool. And the biggest takeaway, people are still hammering on Liverpool's inability to hold the lead and defend, especially when it's coming from a set piece. Twice they conceded from corners, one from Okaka, the other from Miguel Britos.
I find it a little difficult to understand Jurgen Klopp's train of thoughts, and I've always been one who believes in the coach's processes, and I don't want to question the coach, because obviously he knows better what goes on in the background. But some of his latest moves have left me scratching my head, because I'm asking myself now, Liverpool ranked bottom 5 in the league for most goals conceded last season, and they still managed to
from set pieces.
And they still managed to finish in the top 4. In fact, if you look at the defenses of the league, they were terrible. They were among the bottom 5 in the league as far as defenses were concerned.
Overall.
They were that bad. They were that bad. So I've come to a point where I'm thinking that when there's a transfer window and there's an opportunity to reinforce your team, the first place Liverpool need to look is the defensive unit.
It's the rear guard.
It's not happened for me. I've not seen enough conviction for me. And then Jurgen Klopp went on talking about, he looks around at his defense and he can say that there aren't a lot of Premier League centre halves who are better than the pair he currently has. And I'm shaking my head and I'm asking myself that the manager is either drinking something that I cannot describe, or he's seeing dreams that only he can really explain.
Could it not be a case of a manager who believes in his team and says that we will play how we will play, we will outscore teams, we will give up a few, and it won't matter?
Well, I mean, I've been around long enough to know that formula never works for any team. You can look at all the championship sides from the recent past, and you can tell that
defense was always an important part.
Every single championship side is defensively solid. No team wins a championship with a lot of goals, allowing their opponents to score as many as possible. That theory just doesn't cut it for me. I mean, that's just even on the transfer side. You look at the play and in-game managing side of things, I think he's getting it wrong as well. Jordan Henderson, I've seen him in the 2 opening games, first in the EPL, second in that Champions League playoff, and he's been terrible. He's lacked the pace, he's lacked the decisiveness.
He's been injured for a while. He's carrying an injury that the doctors say is chronic.
Exactly my point. And then it brings me back again to trusting Jurgen Klopp's process. Purchase Marco Grujic when he came into the team. Look, I saw Marco Grujic for 3 minutes in that playoff game against Hoffenheim, and I saw Jordan Henderson for a greater part of about 50 minutes.
Difference was vast.
The difference was large. Grujic in a 3-minute sequence, I saw him made a tackle, almost got a goal. Henderson was misplacing passes all over the place. Jurgen Klopp needs to sort out.
So for you, Henderson is out.
He's out of the team for me.
Okay.
He's not good enough to be playing for Liverpool, especially in a season where they think that contending for a championship is something that is well within their sight.
We'll see. But Watford, they also sold as a thriller. They looked really good on the day. Okaka looked great. But everybody's talking about Doucouré in midfield. He really ran the show for them. And under a coach like Marco Silva, you think that he will be an important part of this Watford setup?
Well, it will be interesting, and it will be it will be interesting to observe because I mean I looked at Donkor. I didn't think that he was an integral part of this team, and I believe that one of the biggest problems with Watford is their ability to get something good going and then decide to destroy it and rebuild for no reason. The truth now is that they have a different manager in charge. So what I'm talking about, in the year where they had Kike Sanchez Flores, same thing happened. Success was good. All of a sudden, they wrecked their ship.
They brought
and then everything went down.
Brought in
my
Italian friend. That was an absolute disaster.
It never really got going. He kept on chopping and changing. And I believe that if we are to go back to match the number of players that he used across the season, Watford would have had one of the highest volume of player usage.
He did change his team very often.
I mean, no disrespect to him also, but he had injury issues. But again, they never really presented a consistent face. So if Donkor can become the pivot around which this team will rally and can become the moving force for this team, great for Watford. But again, I just fell short of penning them into my candidates for relegation because they've just not been consistent enough for me. They've not shown enough fight for me. That game against Liverpool, if they can carry that spirit into their next 3-4 games, they should be able to build themselves a good platform on which to build a season. So
we'll see how Watford fare. Now, they've brought in Andre Gray. He's their new club signing, £18.1 million. Troy Deeney is recovering from groin surgery. So when he comes back, we'll figure out how he'll manage those two. Because to be brutally honest, they are two very similar strikers. Two very, very similar forwards. Bulky, quick, like to use their strength and all of that. Just two quick results. Just two takes on this. One, Chelsea losing 2-3 to Burnley at home. Some people are beginning to press the panic button red. Others feel that this is a phase, it will pass when Chelsea's big men come in. But you can tell that there's something that's slightly off with Chelsea, even though it's very early in the season.
I know people will take me off of this, but again, my Premier League projections said it all. I don't think Chelsea will finish in the top 4 this season.
I pinned them down as champions, and I'm beginning to ask myself
people think I'm crazy. That how do you take out the champion and place him in the 5th or 6th spot? Well, it's easy for me. I believe always that in football and in pro sports, the sort of preparation you have over a long spell, like what you get with pre-season, is always a big determinant of what sort of season you are going to have.
We've heard stories of Conte being unhappy. One, do you believe the stories? And two, is he right to be unhappy?
I do definitely believe the stories, and I actually think that they have actually done a better job of hashing the chaos that is brewing within the club than in actually projecting what they should be doing for the season. Look, if Chelsea as a team, defending champions, could not attract their first choices of players, that's a problem for starters. Two, the lack of activity on the transfer market with regards to how quickly the manager wanted players brought in so they could quickly imbibe the system in and get it moving also didn't happen. And then again, they go and purchase an injured player. Look, I don't care how much you think you need to reinforce your team, but you need players that are battle ready and tested. X on my face if Bakayoko recovers, forms a formidable partnership with Kante.
But you think that this false start,
all these things
is not needed.
It did feed into that calamity against Burnley, and they did well by being able to rescue something. Again, I predicted Alvaro Morata was not going to start the game. He didn't start the game. Good decision by Antonio Conte. But I look at Chelsea now and what they are doing. They don't have the surety that a championship team should have. And there's a saying that says that as soon as the cheering stops, the dancing of the wounded eagles begin. And that's exactly what is going on with Antonio Conte. He's looking at himself right now and says that, well, it did take talent to win a championship. Now it takes character to be able to repeat.
To repeat.
Does this team have character? Issues with Diego Costa on the side. You have not the issue of not being able to acquire your first choice players. Your midfield partnership that looked like it was the best thing that happened.
Matic has been gifted to Manchester United.
The key cogs sold to
rival,
potentially your biggest championship rivals this season. And I'm asking myself exactly what is going on in that Chelsea room.
It's just not looking.
They've just not started on the wrong foot for me. They've
not gotten
rid of the Costa situation yet. So they are just still trudging in the mud. They really need to get going. They need to start flying.
Chelsea need to start well, and they need to get it right. We'll talk about their subsequent game, but just final thoughts from Old Trafford. United won 4-0. They say it was a good display. Some say it was the best under Jose Mourinho. Some say Paul Pogba is looking good, but all of a sudden, Nemanja Matic comes in and he's looking really good. Do you think that with displays like that, players will start to feel more confident, like Paul Pogba, to try to be more adventurous, knowing that there's somebody behind him who can actually help him out in a defensive sense?
Well, it's good that Matic has brought some solidity to how United play, and of course it's key because
did they miss such a player last season?
They did not because United did not have somebody with that type of quality, but they didn't get that quality on a consistent basis. So I felt that every time United had Ande Herrera playing in that position, he was able to hold the fort, but you always got the inkling from Ande that it wasn't his natural.
He wanted to do something else.
He wanted to be doing something else. Now again, Michael Carrick did that really well for United, but he wasn't always available. So with Matic, you get a player who is, I think, practically one of the strongest in his position. He's consistent. He gives you minutes. He's durable. So United now have a player they can rely on and plot for games going into the future. Unlike in the past where you don't have that dependable number 6.
So they have to mix and match and try all kinds of permutations.
Now, the manager knows exactly what he's going to do going forward. And I'm eager to watch Paul Pogba again because, look, believe it or not, if Romelu Lukaku comes in with this big price tag, scores tons of goals and starts to get the plaudits, Pogba and Lukaku might be friends, but he will start feeling the heat.
Well, that is true.
Because you were brought in as a marketing magnate, as a player who was supposed to be transcendent, lead this team forward. It doesn't matter how much Pogba will score. It doesn't matter how many assists he will give, but he needs to be able to emphasize that he is an influencer in this team.
Okay.
I've not seen that from him so far. I've seen some poor decisions from him in the opening matches I have watched. I want to believe that they are early jitters and he will shake them off, but he's key to their team. Romelu Lukaku, of course, I've never doubted him. I've always been a big fan of Romelu Lukaku.
2 goals, confidence there.
He's up there and he's doing his thing.
We'll see what happens to Manchester United. We'll take a short break. When we come back, I'll go to some of your messages and then we look ahead to another fantastic weekend where Chelsea and Spurs go at each other again at Wembley. This time not in an FA Cup game, but it's the second week of the Premier League. The preview show is live on City TV, live on Facebook. We'll be back shortly. Remember, we are powered by Slide Pay, Premium Bank and Betway. We are back shortly.
They'll go with a 4-4-2 diamond formation for that early lead.
An early goal will settle the nerves.
The away team has been in bad form. They will feel the pressure.
The home side's kept 2 clean sheets in a row.
It's all about momentum.
Who will have the stamina to last the 90 minutes?
The star striker is suspended.
They've got no kappa.
The marking will be tight.
This will be won or lost in the midfield.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. Betway, for the love of the game.
Inside the last minute of the opening 45 here. And, as we
Scores. 1. Who? Red. Red? Blue.
break. Oh, scores! What a way to finish the first half!
Scores. Halftime. Scores!
Hi, welcome back to the Premier League Preview Show live on City TV. Nathan Carr here, show brought to you by Premium Bank. You're better off with that slide pay and Betway. Let me read a few of the messages. People are sending all kinds of interesting thoughts. So Nana Kofi Kodia is asking his friend Nanama Fakuma, how can you give your heart to a broken heart team like Liverpool? That's so unfair. That's not nice. Joe Jack says no one gave Chelsea a dog chance last season, but we all saw what they did. Nana Kofi Kodia says demolition exercise for Spurs. Kojoton is asking which channel can I watch City TV? You are watching City TV. It's live on Facebook. We go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Joe Jack is accusing Benjamin, says he's putting on his biased lenses on the Chelsea matter. Interesting opinion. So keep dropping the comments. I'll read as many of them as possible. But just like you heard at the start of the show, this year we're bringing in people to come and join us. So if you are watching and you're a very consistent viewer, keep dropping your comments. You never know. One Wednesday afternoon, you could be with us. You could join us. And of course, there's the Fantasy League. So Fantasy League managers, I see the league table. I'll be running by that league table. I need that winner here with me. I have his prize. So if you know that winner, get him. Let me just run the code by you. 306 397 267 689. Again, 306 397 267 689. That is the Fantasy League code, and there are prizes from Slide Pay, Betway, and Premium Bank. Then let's look ahead to this weekend. It's a very, very interesting week. So on Saturday, very early in the morning at 11:30, Swansea welcoming Manchester United. Today, as things stand, Gylfi Sigurdsson is on his way to Everton. So how much of that will hurt Swansea in their season? They hope to survive, but they are losing their most important player to Everton, and they have to face Manchester United this Saturday morning.
That ship is broken for now. For now.
Okay.
Because we did mention that, or I did mention that Swansea were prime candidates for relegation. In fact, you and I have been talking about it. I've always penned Swansea down for relegation.
You've always had problems with Swansea. You've always said that progressively from about 2011, they've been losing their identity. So it was very clear they had a passing game under Brendan Rodgers. But ever since then, you've complained that you never know where they are going.
Exactly. And, I mean, you cannot be a team without an identity in the Premier League. I've realized that whenever we have a team that gets relegated, it forms a core part of their issues. They don't really know if they are a defensive-minded team. They don't know if they're an attacking-minded team. They don't know if they are a rugged team or a fluid team. Now, I'll tell you what, a team like Burnley only survive because they know their identity and they play according to
play
their
open
strength.
at
They
home,
stay,
solid away.
They stay within their parameters. Swansea don't have the same sort of luxury. Now, what happens? Their talisman leaves the team. The team is left soulless. The team is left without spirit. Who do you turn to for guidance in a team of this nature? Fernando Llorente.
And he's out injured. Llorente is not playing.
Jordan Ayew perhaps will possibly be the man to hold the team. Leroy Fair. Look, there's just not enough charismatic figures in that Swansea team to hold the fort up. And that's a problem for me. Yes, Paul Clement is doing as well as he possibly could. But in football, the first thing you need is talent. And Swansea just don't have the sort of talent you require to stay in the Premier League.
I saw them play that opening game against Southampton, and to be brutally honest, Southampton really let them off the hook. Now this Swansea team is led by Jordan, who is a very good player. I wouldn't say world class, he's very good. Tammy Abraham seems to be 10 levels below because he's joining from Chelsea, and this is arguably his first taste.
And you're going up against a United side that are feeling notorious all of a sudden. Just because they won by 4-0 on opening day. Romelu Lukaku, believe me, if there's a team or there are teams that he likes scoring, it's teams like Swansea. He'll get a hat-trick against you before you can blink your eyes. Now, what do you plan going into a team like this? You hope to keep it solid at the back. You hope to frustrate your opponents, at least for the first half, and then try to execute a counter-attacking ploy going into the game. In all, Swansea need to realize this. They need to have an objective of what they want from this game. If you ask me, their best result from this game is a draw. Attempting to chase a win in this match will be foolhardy for them and will probably lead them into conceding 4 or 5 goals, which will sort of deepen their confidence woes very early in the season. And we know no manager.
And then the relegation war starts to get more complicated.
But if you go out there and you stifle a Man United team that have come off a free scoring game in the first half, some individuals in that
will
setup
start to ask
will
themselves
scratch their heads and say, well, we probably might not be as lethal as we possibly thought. And then within that small train of doubt is where you can hit them hard and possibly look to win a match. Look, those are the fine lines that define football games. The moments of doubt between teams,
and
that
that's
moment
it. You just
of
jump in,
indecision between teams, you
kill
take
it
it
and
and you
let
take
it go.
advantage. But for now, I really don't see anywhere for Swansea to hide in that game against United.
So Swansea will really have to be up for it against Manchester United on Saturday. There's Liverpool versus Palace. Last season, this game didn't go in Liverpool's favour. We saw Palace. They looked horrible against Huddersfield Town. And under Frank de Boer, you don't know whether it's a complicated situation. They want to pass the ball. Every time they threatened against Hull City, or Huddersfield rather, was when they went direct. What do you think De Boer would do? Will he tell them to go direct? Or as Dutch as he is, he'll tell them to open up and try to pass the ball around against Liverpool?
Well, it'll be interesting to see because Liverpool themselves have their own vulnerabilities. So the first thing I expect De Boer to do is to get tapes of how Crystal Palace managed to beat Liverpool last season. And indeed, in the seasons before last season, Crystal Palace have become a consistent boogie side for Liverpool. Regardless of how the score or the game ends, there's always some form of push to the wall before a result is obtained by either side. So first thing, revise your notes. Go get tapes of how this was done by your predecessor.
Should De Boer admit that maybe this 3-4-3 luxurious passing thing,
it's become fashionable in the league actually. 3-4-3
doesn't work for Palace, and that he should reset let them do what they know.
Well, I'm sure that if you ask him as a manager, he will tell you that a game is too short a time to decide if a system is inefficient or not. So he'll probably want to give it one more go, another one. Well, Liverpool might just be the wrong side to do it against because they are one of those sides where when they are caught in a situation that presupposes that they motivate themselves, they are
experts at doing that.
They're probably better than any other team on the planet at doing it. And that result against Watford on opening day just didn't cut.
The perfect motivation they
will
need.
be hoping to get the side back on track. You don't want to drop 2 games from the start of the season. It just throws your whole season out of whack. So I believe that they will want to go into this game with a mindset to beat Palace soundly, and that's where De Boer must be careful. As for Liverpool, I've seen good things about them and bad things about them. Mohamed Salah,
good start.
He's been good so far for me, but I saw a little bit of his negative side in that Hoffenheim encounter. Why? Because he always tends to get in the right positions on his
and
wrong,
not take
on
the
his
opportunities.
wrong foot. Exactly.
I think he's more willing now to try things with his right foot.
I believe that he should, when he gets in the final third, I've always said this, the biggest weapon of a winger or a pacey player who has some flamboyance and some trickery to his game is the ability to take his time in the box, especially around defenders, and feel like he's in the zone. Because why? You are Mohamed Salah. You are probably more skillful than anybody who will be guarding you in that Crystal Palace backline. Any form of mistake, any form of clumsy tackle will result
you get a penalty. I mean, he got a penalty the other day against Watford.
And most of the chances I saw him miss in that Watford game were as a result of him not taking enough time to make the right decision. So he needs to take his time. He always seems to go for the first option of the near post. And I think that for somebody with his level of anticipation and skill,
just quickly,
he should be doing a lot more.
I think Liverpool to win this.
Liverpool definitely to win this.
Okay, that's a quick prediction. Stoke Arsenal. Both teams started very interestingly. Stoke lost at Everton. Arsenal won 4-3. Last season, Arsenal won this game. A fantastic second half display by Ozil and Sanchez.
Well, I expect Arsenal to go in and win this one, but it won't be easy. Well, guess what? Stoke City have added
Jesse Rodriguez
from Paris Saint-Germain on loan.
Quality player.
Favorite chap of mine from Real Madrid back in his days. Fantastic player. He's one of those guys who is just floated around looking for a home or a place to call home. So for Stoke City to give him the opportunity, I believe that he will want to take it on. Why? Because this will probably be his biggest visibility test. Better than his days at Real Madrid, better than his days at Paris Saint-Germain. Everybody's watching Jesse Rodriguez now. Is he all hype, or has he just stagnated because of lack of playing time? So a lot would ride on Jesse Rodriguez because, one, I'm sure that Marquinhos will want to throw him into the mix just to see what he can do. And don't forget that Stoke City have done some really bad business in recent times with the likes of Gianelli Imbola. So the coming in of new signings will give the fans 1, pundits 2, and the manager himself a very good sense of what sort of direction the club is heading in. But I just think that Arsenal are just experts at these type of games. They barely ever let these sort of games slip, especially early in the season.
Yeah.
I don't think that they will suffer from a curse of winning their opening game. They will definitely want to follow that up with another win and just show everybody that yes, we are not in the top 4, but we are just as hungry as anybody to get back in there.
We'll see about that. On Monday night, there's Man City versus Everton, but that should be a very good one at the Etihad. Everton won their opening game at home. Man City won away from home. When Rooney goes back to Manchester, he's playing against the team. His old team were rivals. That should spice things up. And Everton, maybe by then, Gylfi Sigurdsson should start.
And Everton thrashed Manchester City last season.
Yeah, but that's at Goodison. Just
in case anybody forgets, it is still Manchester City, regardless of how it goes down. What I think, I'm very curious about looking at this Manchester City new look defense. Can they defend, or are they just fancy and expensive? That's very important for me. I've never really...
This is a test. Brighton didn't offer anything. This looks like a test.
Very good one. And again, no disrespect, but I have never really been a big fan of Pep Guardiola defenses. So this really is a big test on his hand. He will have to go out there and navigate this one. Look, the most dangerous thing about Everton these days is the fact that Ronald Koeman can pick average players and turn them into world-class players in a game situation. They might not necessarily be world-class in a global discussion, but they turn world-class in a game situation.
But on the flip side, City's attack looks good. De Bruyne, Silva, Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero. That should be tough for any defense to handle.
Those are just bad names these days. And I mean, people might say that I am being exceptionally hard, but we've come to the point where Pep Guardiola's first season has shown us that you need to bring your game and not your name.
But that's why he's added the likes of Danilo and.
But he himself is a big example.
That Kyle Walker.
Again, like I'm saying, they are all names, and you're only as good as your last game. So they need to really bring that fire again this season. Okay. We need to know if they're actually capable of getting the job done, or they're out there dressing fancy and having a big paycheck signed for them.
The biggest game of this weekend happens in London at Wembley. Spurs' first home game of the season, new ground. That's where they will be for the next year. They take on Chelsea. Chelsea are wobbly, and Spurs will want revenge really for the FA Cup semi-final defeat at the same place last season. And they'll just want to get one over Chelsea and maybe remind people that when they play at Wembley, good things happen.
Well, yes, and exactly. But Chelsea will also be looking at Wembley and say, well, your soul has been sucked out of you because you don't have White Hart Lane anymore. This is a chance for us to put our season back on track. I think that Mauricio Pochettino, regardless of the lack of silverware, is every bit as competent as Antonio Conte. So don't get this wrong. On a tactical balance level, I think that it's cancelled out already. On the player level, I also do believe that Tottenham Hotspur do boast almost as much talent.
Will Chelsea suffer assuming Eden Hazard and Eden Hazard doesn't make a return and Timo Bakayoko doesn't make a return? Now Fabregas won't be playing; he will be suspended. So what midfield combo should work? And going into Spurs who have the chemistry, this is a tougher ask than the FA Cup final from 3-4 months, FA Cup semis from 3-4 months ago.
Interesting. So you have the pivot who is N'Golo Kante. He is still the last man standing. Yeah. Now you need to figure out what to do with him because there's no Bakayoko like you mentioned, and there's no
Fabregas is suspended.
Fabregas. What do you do? Possibly look to draft Willian into an attacking midfielder's role where you will be counting on his work rate to be able to do the job for him. Bet you still cannot count on his intelligent tackling. You still cannot count on his incredible positional sense because the man's makeup is an attacking one. But again, it's about improvisation. You need to make do of what you have at your disposal now, and that's what Chelsea have at their disposal now. In terms of who will possibly partner him in that midfield, that's where the puzzle lies for me, because now I'm looking around and I believe that Chelsea have just let too many players leave on loan. Every day somebody else.
So many young players, over 20 of them.
Every day somebody else.
You think that the likes of Lucas Piazon and Josh McEachran and some of these other very talented players should have been given the opportunity, but that's not happening.
Never the chance. Now they are central midfield strapped and they don't know what to do going into a game against a team that I practically think are the most tactically disciplined in the league. Look, Spurs could be one of the most boring sides on any day and could still find a way to get a win.
They did that against Newcastle.
Exactly. And when it comes to the English Premier League, I've always noticed that they've always had this "you really can't beat us" attitude about them. I don't know if it's their manager, I don't know if it's what they've achieved over the past 2 seasons, but they will be buoyed up for this game. They will be eager to prove to people that White Hart Lane or no White Hart Lane, this is London. This is a derby. We know how to get it done. But I'm still sort of worried about the lack of ambition Spurs have showed in the transfer window. Sold Kyle Walker, no proper replacement for him. Danny Rose spoke about it, and everybody acted like he had said something despicable. Well, the man is actually speaking the gospel truth. For a team that were hoping that after finishing second a couple of times, winning the title is the next big step, they definitely have not shown enough ambition for me. Will they still be good enough to take down Chelsea? I think so.
We'll see. Tough ass, but it's the biggest game of the weekend. Spurs welcome Chelsea to Wembley. That's where all the action is. Let me go through the comments before we leave. And people are not too happy with Ben. It says critics like Nketiah will be put to shame. That's Ekoyosin. Jalil Abdullah says, I hope United will repeat the performance. Nana Kofi Kodia says, there is no way that game will be a draw. I make a reference. I'm struggling to find out which game that is. This one says, Swansea's best is a 2-0 scoreline against them. Okay. FBK Benny says, United will win to keep the pressure on critics. Nipato Samoa Ado says, Swansea 0, Man United 3. We are wrapping it up here. But like we said earlier, next week or in a few weeks, we could have people joining us. And please take part in the Fantasy League. And every week, there's a fantastic prize for the person who sits on top of the tree as king of the Fantasy League. Ben, join me, Ben. Thank you very much. We'll be back here next Wednesday from 1 live on Facebook. My name is Nathan Carr. It's been the preview show brought to you by Betway Slide Pay and Premium Bank. You're better off with us. So join us on Saturday morning from 11:30, Swansea versus Man United. We go all the way to the end of the day. There are games on Sunday and on Monday night right here on City 97.3. Hashtag City Sports. Expect the unexpected. The coverage is live on air, online, and on City TV.